Hi, my name is Rabbi Yosef Tropper, and I thank you so much for joining. This is Parshas Shemos, and the title is By Name. And the purpose of this segment is to provide a short and thought-provoking idea on the Parsha. And we find the beginning of the Parsha starts, Ve'ela Shemos Bnei Yisrael. These are the names of the Jews. Then it gives a list of all the sons of Yaakov and all the 70 souls that came down to Egypt. And of course, the Mefarshim discuss how you get that exact number. One is missing, perhaps. And what I wanted to focus on is that we know that Sefer Shemos is the book of Exodus, and one of the reasons that these parshas are some of my favorite ones is because you get to double up whatever preparation and whatever learning you do now for Parshas Shemos, Ve'era Bo, B'Shalach, Yisro, Mishpatim. These are all great speeches and great ideas that could be saved for Pesach, for the Haggadah Shel Pesach, as we go through that exact same narrative. And so what's very interesting is that we call Shemos the Exodus, and really the word Shemos means names. And what does that have to do with Exodus? Where does that even come from? It's the book of Exodus, and it starts off with the word Shemos. And in order to answer that, we have to go through each one of the 5 names of the Torah and try to understand them. The first one is Bereshis, Genesis. So most people don't really know what the word Genesis means, but it means the creation of the world. So it sort of makes sense, that's what it talks about. But really, that's not what the word Bereshis means. Bereshis means in the beginning, according to Rashi, according to the Ramban at least, in the beginning. And what we go through the next one, Shemos. So Shemos means names, but yet we call it Exodus. Vayikra, we call it Leviticus. Vayikra means he called, Vayikra el Moshe, which is an interesting topic in itself. And Bamidbar means in the desert, and yet we call it Numbers. And the last one, Deuteronomy, most people don't know what that means repetition. That's not what the word Devarim means. So what is this? And the answer is, of course, that one should not think that the names that those English translations were made up by secular sources. That's totally incorrect. Chazal themselves called the Torah by these names, and Midrashim, Medrash Rabbah goes through each one of the Chomshei Torah. And really, and the Ramban, of course, in his introduction to Bereshis and Shemos mentions this. Bereshis is called Sefer HaYetzirah, the book of creation, and that's where the translation of Genesis comes from. It doesn't come from the first word, Bereshis bar Elokim. It comes from the actual Sefer itself, talks about the Genesis, the creation, Sefer HaYetzirah, the creation of the world. Shemos is called Sefer HaGeula, the book of redemption, and therefore Exodus is the redemption. Leviticus, or Vayikra, is called Torah's Kohanim, the laws of the Kohanim, the Levites, so it therefore got called Leviticus. Numbers is called Chumash HaPekudim, the book of accounting, because the Jews are counted the most times in Sefer Bamidbar. And finally, Devarim is called Mishnah Torah, the repeat of Torah, and therefore it's called Deuteronomy. So those are very appropriate. But let's go back to Sefer Shemos. That's what we just started. Why does it use the word Ve'ela Shemos? Why does it start off that way? And I believe that there's something very beautiful and something very deep. And that is that part of the redemption was the fact that Hashem showed the world through the 10 Makos and through all the Nisim, the miracles that he performed on behalf of the Jews, that I love the Jews and I care about them. B'ni B'chorei Yisrael. The Jews are my very own firstborn children. They are my dear, beloved nation. And so the word Shemos means names. The most endearing way to refer to someone is by name. They're not just a number. They're not just part of a group that we don't really know too much about. No, Hashem says every one of you is important to me. And the whole idea of the Exodus, of Shemos, of Sefer HaGeula, is that Hashem says to the Jews, you are each individual people and you are each individually precious to me. Just like Hashem says, just like I know every star, I know every name, I know every person. And that's the most important thing of the Geula, to know that each individual counts and is special as well. And therefore, that's why Sefer HaGeula, the second book of the 5 books of Moses, starts with the word Ve'ela Shemos, to show that Hashem says, I care about each one of you, just like when you care about someone, you know their name, you use their name, and it's the most dear thing to them. So Hashem says, I know about every one of I know each person individually, I follow your life individually, and I provide providence, and I watch over your life, and I guide your life individually. That's the most beautiful part of the redemption. I thank you so much for listening, and I welcome your questions, comments, and sponsorships as well. Thank you.